Good morning, Patriots. Welcome back to the tavern. Two average guys. Jack, I'm Dennis. Let's stand for our Pledge of Allegiance. Flags right back here, on both sides of the room. Hope you have one at home. Please stand and join us. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please stay standing for Mike's prayer.
Dear Lord, please forgive us for our sins and keep sin far from us. Please let us hear your gospel and call upon your name and be saved by you, Lord. Please protect this nation from these uncaring leaders. Please protect our first responders and military from harm. Please protect us and our families of all the evil in this world. Please protect this podcast and all that create it and listen to it. Lord, please protect our freedoms. Lord, please help Jack and Dennis start their new party and have it be a success. Lord, thank you for all your blessings. Please help us to give you thanks and praise for all that you do. Lord, have mercy on this nation and have our leaders do your will. Lord, please have this nation repent so they can reap your rewards. Lord, please have mercy on us and have us do your will. Lord, thank you for your forgiveness. Lord, we are thankful, grateful, and love you dearly. We pray this in Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
I have a quote that I thought is perfect for this time.
What do you got?
Pastor Gipp, G-I-P-P, I'm listening to him, and he says this quote: Americans used to use their brains to reach an opinion. Now they use a remote. It just goes hand in hand with what you guys say.
Yeah, you gotta turn off the remote. You gotta stop listening to the media.
The idiot box will get you every time.
Yeah, we talked about that last week.
You guys, when you was kids, you used to watch cartoons on TV in the morning, and your parents used to say,
Get out.
Get out. Turn that idiot box off. Guess what? Now you're grown-ups, and you're watching cartoons on CNN, and I'm telling you.
And Fox.
Yeah.
Turn it off. Get it away from the idiot box.
I remember Dad saying when he used to say there's nothing on, read a book.
Yeah.
Yep. So our topic today is Article 5 of our Constitution. Look up Article 5 on the internet, or you can download it from our website. It's right behind us. It's not that hard to read.
Yeah, the whole thing is an easy read.
Yep. But before we dig into that, decided to create a new segment with our podcast about the people's feedback.
People's feedback, right?
We're getting some feedback from folks on Facebook and YouTube. Right? Some of them are mostly good. A few people are mean, but we're not going to talk about mean people right now. So I'm going to read a few and ask Jack to give us his opinion and what he thinks about them. So last week we talked about searching for the truth and finding middle ground, and how the media plays it with our minds to attract viewers. Mike just read.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to give out any names, but they're also fed up with the way things are going in America, and things aren't good right now, folks. So the first one, the only side that compromises are the Republicans. I don't see compromise coming from the Democrats. Vote out the rhinos and Democrats. What's your answer to that?
Yes, that's true. My feeling on that is that the Democrats, they just mow you over. They're mowing you over because they truly feel that you are truly an enemy of the state and that you are evil. And rule does not matter for you as long as they get rid of you. They'll silence you. And then the Republicans, for some reason, I don't know what it is. You can, it's the left has been playing the game for years where they go far left to bring the Republicans, and then the center keeps moving further and further left because the Republicans keep meeting them in their middle, which their middle keeps coming back further and further left. And the problem with that is that these people that are conservatives, you think you're going to have a breath of fresh air, but the problem is they don't know the Constitution, and the Constitution is your backbone if you're a politician, and it has all your answers and makes you right every time. And they can't. They're wishy-washy. They're worrying about money, and unfortunately, they didn't set up this correct policy with this black dark money that's on there, Soros money and people like that. The 250 billionaires that signed up with them, that Nancy Pelosi went to that meeting and signed off on it. So they're scared. I think they're scared. They're scared to lose what they're going to have and to be called a name. But, you know, sticks and stones may break my bones, but names will never harm me. I remember something like that.
Yeah, something like that. So next person, coming to the media. No, I do not trust any syndicated news network, not even so-called conservatives. I am leaning towards trusting the individual and not the organization. Seems to work out better this way for this American. Sincerely, a fellow American. What say you about that?
I think that's good. Go out on there and see what, you know, why not? That's what we're doing.
Yep.
You know, we
Find the best representative to represent you and your family.
So, and your news source, find your best news source. It may be you. You know, take your time to do it.
CNN or Fox.
Right. So, you know, and that's what I tell a lot of people when they, on Facebook, when they talk to me about finding a candidate. Look for a candidate. If you don't find one, maybe you're the best candidate.
Yep.
Maybe you're the one that should be
Right.
the Independent Constitutional Party
I mean, reach
candidate.
out to us. Reach out to us.
Yeah.
We'll help you on the ballot. So, one more.
Okay.
Just one more.
That's fine.
This one's
I like this. This is
one's a
fun.
little longer, but this individual really fed up with social media groups.
Wow.
This one in particular.
I haven't been a part of it long enough to be that frustrated. I'm more frustrated with the mechanics of it, that I'm too stupid to figure out how to get it, than the actual substance of it yet.
Maybe kind of frustrating when you get some of the nasty remarks back.
Well,
See, I've seen your guys' stuff posted in a moderates group I'm in. Not sure if you're in that group, but just know they aren't moderates and censor dissenting opinions like every other leftist. That dude that runs that page is nothing more than a race-biting communist who is trying to unify anyone around anything but hate. I am actually a moderate and gave this guy recommendations, but I'm guessing he's so invested into his narrative about white supremacy being such a problem that he wasn't open to the idea that supremacist ideology has no boundaries and can take place with any ethnic, national identity, or cultural group. Do you believe there's white supremacy in America? And do you feel the media or wolves in sheep clothing, including social media?
I think the biggest white supremacist group in the country is in Washington, D.C. I don't care what color you are, what nationality you are. If you're in Congress right now, in both houses, in the judicial branch, and in the executive office, you're a supremacist. All of Washington, D.C. is suppressing the Americans. You want to talk about white supremacy and their tone and what they're talking about? It's them. They are taking votes away from you. They are taking trillions of dollars out of your pocket. They are taking words out of your mouth and thoughts out of your brain.
Is that right?
You want suppression?
Plus, they're dividing the country. Everyone has a label.
That's their goal.
Well,
And
listen.
they're the ones that are making the labels. Nobody else is.
You know, I wrote a little note down. I was over Dad's house. If I can, do I have a chance to steer off? So I wrote a little note down on what's going on since Democrats took over. And I shouldn't say the Democrats, because like we always say, it's both sides of the aisle. You know, because if you're there today, no matter what party you belong to, today's problems are your fault. You're there. If you didn't get there yesterday, which nobody did, everybody's been there for a while, these are your problems. Because let me tell you, silence, you know, inaction is as guilty as action.
Yep.
So, since this whole thing started, since this administration and this group of people in D.C. took office, I was just sitting here and I said, you know what? Since they took over, since they've been in office, day one, they brought us back to the 1970s energy crisis by getting rid of our supply. We're no more independent. Day two, they brought us back 20 years to the day before September 11th regarding terrorism. The way they got out of Afghanistan put us right back. I mean, it wasn't even rewind. It was an instant, bing, you're back, right there. Day 3, they brought us to the 1980s Cold War era.
Wow.
Right?
Yep.
Day 4, they brought us back 60 years to the explosion of communists throughout the world, erasing the struggles of the Korean War and the 10-year Vietnamese War, fought in the name of keeping communism tapped down.
Wow.
Day 5, looks like they're going to go back to war after 75 years in Europe. Day 6, I believe they are trying to go back 150 years and start another civil war in this country. This is what I feel that our government's doing right now. You don't think history repeats itself?
Wow.
It does.
They just went back 75 years in 1 year. We are repeating history
Again.
in light speed. So, anybody in Washington, D.C., this is your fault.
So how will our party, the Independent Constitutional Party, be different for the American people?
You know, it's going to be very hard. But, you know, we're doing Article 5, and I think Article 5 would help our party too. Our party has to be the conscience of these other 2 parties. We have to get enough people in our party there, purist. Again, because I don't care how pure you are, absolute power corrupts absolutely. So if you're not in there, they're going to have to sign a contract with us that you're going to do the term limits that we agree to. You're going to go there, I don't care what you get elected in, 12 years, you're gone. That's it. You don't get our backing anymore, you don't get nothing. Get your work done, get it what you can. Until we get enough money, enough candidates elected that we can no longer be the conscience, but the decision makers. And, you know, I'm looking into this Article 5, and the Constitution is 36 pages in my book, but the other Constitution is 2,700 pages long and 10 pounds. And that's all of the legal bulletins put in there from the judicial branch. From most of it, 90% of it's from the Supreme Court, and that's why they need term limits too. They got to get out of there. And they just, you look through every one of them. You look through every one of them. Their rulings go right along with public opinion is, all the way through. Not what the Constitution says, it's what the news is saying, what their cocktail parties are telling them. These people are getting limo drives back and forth to work. They got people working on here like this, bringing them coffee in the morning, bringing them this in the afternoon. They don't have to open a door for the rest of their life. And then they sit down in a black robe, listen to a discussion. Oh, what are they saying out there? Oh, yeah, we already know what we're going to do on this.
Yeah,
You think you're fighting for your Second Amendment? Let me tell you something. If public opinion tells them to get rid of your Second Amendment, you get rid of it. Because right now, they're getting rid of your freedom of speech. And the Supreme Court's going along with them. They're allowing these high-tech companies to do what they want. So I feel our party at the beginning is going to be the conscience.
Okay. I can agree with that. So that ends this week's feedback forum. Please keep sending those comments. You can do it on YouTube or on our Facebook, United States Constitutional Group, or you can email us right here, uscg20211, AOL.com. So we look forward to hearing from each of you. So we want to get into Article 5 today, and what it is in case people out there don't really understand it. You know, people don't really get it a lot. At times I think we make it harder than it has to be. But from what I found, there's 6 parts that make up this article. And I found a very easy translation. Here's what Article 5 means. I found this online in simple terms. At governmentandconstitution.org. Look it up yourself. Number 1, the Constitution can be changed.
You know, there is another good place to go for a lot of resources, and that is Hillsdale College. Go onto their website. Go on their website.
Get free.
That president. I'm in a class right now, a free online class for
Hear that, people? Free.
Yeah.
Free online class.
Free online class for the Federalist Papers. I'm halfway through the first class, so it's 8 classes. I just know the guy. That's who wrote the Founder's Key that we always advertise. Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, you're good. So, number 1, the Constitution can be changed. 2, when 2/3 of both houses of Congress find it necessary to make an amendment to the Constitution, change or addition, they will document the amendment and send a copy to each of the states. The states may call special conventions to discuss the amendment and vote on it. Then, if 3/4 of all states agree, then that amendment will become part of the Constitution. Pretty easy so far, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Number 4, another way to amend the Constitution is when 2/3 of the state's legislatures ask Congress to set up a convention for suggesting amendments. And any amendment made by the convention must be approved by 3/4 of all states. Another way to look at it, 3/4 of all states have to approve it in order to make changes or to add to the Constitution. Number 5, one exception to this, that there may be no amendment before 1808 to change Article 1, Section 9, Clause 1 and 4 of the Constitution. And Article 1, Clause 1 relates to Congress not interfering with early laws relating to slavery. Section 4 relates to taxes in proportion to numbers of people in a state. That was changed by the 16th Amendment. And number 6, no state may lose the right to have an equal number of votes in the Senate.
Unless they ask for it.
Right. And that's how simple it is. I found that online. Do your research. I'm telling you, do some homework.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing all the stuff you can find out there.
Not only when you do it though, you'll find that it's fun to do.
It is.
And you'll be amazed because you're like, why am I finding that out now in my life? What would all those hours sit in class? Where to go?
And when you teach yourself, you remember longer. This is something that won't get out of your head.
Right.
All right. So I just wanted to say one thing again. Last week we were talking about the middle ground, and I was talking about Tom Fitton and Judicial Watch. He went in.
That one.
Well, he went in with that the company OpenTheBooks.com for the NIH and NIA to find out all the money they were making. Well, that CEO was fired from Forbes editorial board. He's not allowed to write editorials anymore because he had wrote an article against NIH. NIH sent him changes to make. Listen, you got to change these. Now the changes, according to him, were insignificant. You know, change this word to came and this word from yesterday to 2 days ago. Very insignificant. But because he was willing, he made the changes and sent them back in. They went to Forbes, they put Forbes magazine feet to the flame and said, look, he's even saying this stuff. They called back, you're fired. Can't write for them anymore.
Wow.
That's what $1.5 trillion of tax dollars does for powerful bureaucracies that aren't elected in and out of there. This guy was part of Judicial Watch. They put a FOIA out to get the pay that they were making, and now he lost a job.
Oh, that's what the three branches of government in one bureaucracy does.
Yeah. So just wanted to give that out for everybody. So, you ready to go? You want me to say something?
You go.
Okay. So we're going to take a look at Article 5. Because there seems to be a big push of grassroots. And, you know, we always go for grassroots. The only thing I'm worried about is if the American people are ready to do this. You know, the Revolutionary Era, when they did this, the first government they came up with was the Federalist Papers. And they, not the Federalist Papers, the Confederate Papers. And that government wasn't working. State against state, they were ripping apart each other. But in the whole time frame of this government was doing practices. You have to understand, in you know, 1776, our Congress, they were so smart back then, not like we have now. And that's why sometimes it's so unbelievable to try and believe history, because these people, we're so futuristic. These people were geniuses. The people we got are morons. They sent out all their delegations from the Congress to go back and start practicing writing state constitutions. So by the time they come to time to have a constitution convention, they know how to write them. They knew what they were going to do. That's why it only lasted from May until September to write a whole government law and order. Because they've been doing it for 10 years already. They've been practicing. So that's just, I just don't know if the American people are ready to open the book, so to speak, the holy grail of law and order to this. You know, I get what they say. You can't get in there and change them around. But like we said earlier, these people are animals. We're talking about trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars a year that these people, individuals, are making and government is taking from us that are at stake here. And we have no part in it. We got the most important part of it. We're the ones giving it, handing it out. But I don't know if the American people are ready
People are scared.
for that fight.
People are scared.
You know, because the one I looked up, I don't know who you looked up, but mine was, the group was called Constitution of the States Action. And I got their pamphlet. I didn't bring my little computer my brother Mike gave me. But what they're up to is, Dennis got a different number. I had 17 fully signed, voted states ready to go on these amendments that they want. And well into the 30s of states that have half of their state government signed up and voted on it.
That's good.
So, that's the only thing I'm worried about. That the people that formulated that generation, I won't even say the framers themselves, but that entire generation, all of those, you know, the Continental Congress, they had met a couple of times and then they would go home. They were talking with all of their community about what they were doing. I'm writing a constitution for the state because we're going to be rid of this tyranny, and we're going to go, and so everybody knew about it. Everybody understood it.
Right.
Everybody knew what they were doing. And when the time came, when the ratification time came, it was willy-nilly. It was back and forth. You know, you had the Federalist Papers, the Anti-Federalists. They was going back and forth. But right overruled, and we got the Constitution. I don't know if the public today, I mean, I don't mean to be, but I don't know if that, I mean, how many people know what the Constitution is? Today as it is. So how can you change something you don't know? You never read it.
Ask a college kid about the Constitution.
Right. So if you're going to get ready, who knows who's running these grassroots parties? I don't know them. I read about him. I don't know this guy personally. I don't know where his heart at. What if he's the biggest double crosser there is in the world? Mm-hmm. You know, they say you can't go outside of the boundaries of what the amendments are that you're trying to put in. But you want to know something? How can they not? You know, there's no history on this. You know, they're saying historical events, you can't change any of this. But that's not true. Because in the original Constitution, when they went for it, it was just to update the Confederates Papers. There was only 2 states that gave their legislators full, New York, I think it was New York and Rhode Island, or Maryland, said, listen, go down there and blast it all open. What if we don't get 28 states that say the same thing?
Right. You know, we can assure you Article 5 is not being talked about on any media or social media platform.
No.
The media don't care about it. It doesn't fit their narrative.
And that scares me even more. Is it that insignificant that the regular media is not watching? Okay, whatever, that's not on their agenda. But social media, not one of these things that we belong to have it on?
No.
You want to know the only place I saw it, and it was like maybe 2-3 years ago, was Marco Vin.
Get this little book. Constitution and Declaration of Independence. It's like pocket size.
It is pocket size.
You know? I mean, we're not telling you how to spend money. You can download it off our website.
Yeah, for free. For $3,000.
Yeah. You know, we all know the Constitution is the supreme law of the land. The one thing is it's not being followed by our elected representatives.
Who knows how much they know?
They only follow parts that will help them retain power. This has to stop. I found another interesting article. I find them a lot. Why do we need to call an Article 5 Convention of States? Published in August 8, 2019 by James O'Connor. There are
Cardinal James O'Connor?
Could be. There are 5 main sources of laws that govern us. Constitutional law, state or federal, statutory law, which is laws written, acted by legislators. There are ordinances, you know, stuff like that. Regulatory, rules by various government agencies. Case law, yep, bureaucracies. Case law, which is the Supreme Court and other courts. They make their own.
That's the one that's loading this down.
Yeah. And common practice. Common practice has been in since way before us. You know, and they evolved over time on mutual acceptance by us, the citizens. It's common practice. The main causes of systemic difficulties we face are from statutory, regulatory, and case law abuses inflicted on we the people by federal decision makers. Elected representatives are doing the bidding of special interest, unelected bureaucrats, and activist judges making one-size-fits-all mandates. The reasons are inconsequential, whether ideological or profit. Probably profit. It doesn't matter at all. These abuses must end before we are enslaved by the crushing fiscal burden of or the stifling regulations. And we've all seen them. That we have regulation after regulation. In 2019, the nation was $22 trillion in debt. Today, we're $30 trillion in debt. And no one knows how much more unfunded liabilities are still due. Estimates range, check out these numbers, $120 to $250 trillion more in unfunded liabilities. And Congress continues to spend more each year than the tax revenue generates. Fundamental principles of economics can be ignored for only so long before disaster strikes. The federal bureaucracy has grown exponentially over the past 50 years. More and more bureaucrats, and we've said this so many times in the past years, are writing more and more regulations to justify their own existence or will, or worse, to fulfill a personal agenda. The news is full of countless examples of the latter in recent years. You can't make this stuff up, folks. Look up the article, read it for yourself. Gain more knowledge. But like Jack said earlier, there is good news. Our founders were brilliant men. They understood human nature and had a vital thirst for power. They forced it 225 years ago, 35 years ago. They knew these politicians, they wouldn't give up power that easily. All right? And what are they doing? They're trying to keep it more and more. But this is when it comes to Article 5 of the Constitution. They wrote this for this specific reason. For this specific reason. The money they take in does not match what they try to... Trillions of dollars. For what? To fund their own personal pet projects.
Don't forget about the state level too. There's a lot of state level.
Politicians are destroying this nation, and we have the power through Article 5 to stop them. I mean, we need, not only we need the state term limits, federal term limits, not just a balanced budget. We need everything. A lot of stuff needs to go back to the states. Department of Education. That's not a federal. That's a state responsibility. You know, if they don't add term limits, then you will finally understand these politicians don't care about you and want, or us, and want to just stay in power forever. I guarantee you, we will not see a term limits amendment with the current states that we have. Jack?
They had a chance in 95. Here's a little quote from page 6 of my book. Remember, arbitrary, unchecked power went beyond actual tyranny to include potential tyranny. This is what they were talking about that many. Now we have the same thing. These the bureaucracies are the tyrants because they have all three branches of government built into every bureaucracy. They set the laws, they set the fines, and they hear the trials. Nothing goes anywhere. So, listen, I get Article 5, and I understand Article 5, and I believe in Article 5, and I believe in grassroots. Here's the one thing, and you tell me how far off base I am on it. The State Constitutional Convention, definitely believe it. I believe in it, but I feel like the problem in D.C. is our fault.
Oh, it is. I agree with you.
We left these people there long enough to be corrupt and tyrannical, and that's where they're at. So before we open the books on this, I don't know if it would be better to really get true statesmen back into running government and in Washington, D.C., so that they can try and make this the great government it is. They have a great government. We don't have great governors. We don't have great governorship. We have a great government. It's right here. It's in this book. It's the best in the world. It's the longest lasting constitution in world history. It's the first government of freedom ever designed by man. It's here. The problem is in Washington, D.C., And we sent that problem there. We sent them there and we left them there in that dark corners, brewing and making and scheming and funneling. And you know, it's not, hey, I found $50 in the street. These people are making millions and millions of dollars, and that's the cheap of it.
Why do they get to keep the money?
They shouldn't have, but we shouldn't have left them there.
Right.
We never did our due diligence. We never did our job. We didn't do what our founders did, that generation, the greatest generation.
Yep.
We didn't do what we were supposed to do and stay relevant, read the newspaper while you had coffee in the morning. We didn't do any of that. We let everything slip out of our hands. And now we're all sitting here all pissed off and angry. Why are they doing this?
We be angry with ourselves too.
Right. So, I'm not saying my opinion, I'm just asking a question. You think it's time for a state convention, Article 5, or should we try and vote these people out and get true statesmen back into government? You think Article 5, a constitutional convention, is going to clean up? Listen, they're not listening to the laws now.
Right.
The White House is supposed to send everybody back to Mexico on the southern border. They didn't send nobody. So if we make these amendments, who's going to listen to them? The trillionaires? Because these politicians are getting paid off. I mean, it's a lot of money to us. It's millions and millions of dollars. These guys are making trillions. And they're getting tax subsidies. And they're getting every angle of every dime, of every nickel, of every person out there working goes to these people. Who's going to listen to this? How is it? Do we think it's time for Article 5? Or do we think we educate ourselves and get true politicians in there now?
Well, I think we need an Article 5 convention, even if it's a balanced budget amendment. And
But are they going to listen to it though? Because you want to know
Well,
something?
yeah,
They had a balanced budget amendment.
And-
President Clinton put it in.
Yep. When I lost my train of thought.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. It happens all the time. I forgot what I was going to say. But each year we're getting closer to the state convention. Jack read 17. I read it was more than that. But we need 34 states to sign on.
Yeah, you got 30 states, right?
Yeah, 30.
Okay. So it's
whether
anywhere
it's
from
17 to 30, it don't matter. I mean, we need 34. In South Carolina, well, it only passed the lower house.
Right. It's
Yeah.
got to go to the Senate, I think.
So I'm going to email our politicians here
Oh, good for you.
to see if we get a response. We'll let you know. But last time we reached out to Fry, he couldn't take the time to get back to us. And he's running for Congress. I can assure you he won't get my vote.
He's running against good old boy.
Rice. Yep. The timing is right for a new party of the people who are all fed up with politicians. And we can give you example after example. We know you're fed up. We see you on Facebook. We talk to people every day. We're all fed up. We just have to stick together and do it. The Independent Constitution Party is a platform where we accept everyone. We're not going to try to divide like the politicians do in Washington. We're going to accept everyone. And we'll get the job done for the constituents. Join us in making that a reality. So we're just about out of time.
I got one thing.
Jack's got one other thing. He's going to give you his closing statement.
What is going to be my closing statement? I was over at my dad's house. And there's a few people in my life that are my go-to people. And my dad's always number one on the list. Whenever I have something to say or do or think about or whatever idiot thing I'm doing, I go to him and ask him how big of an idiot I'm going to be about doing this. And he always shoots straight with me. And we talk about this podcast all the time, him and I. So he wanted me to say he feels, in his opinion, that the country hasn't heard this enough. It's a quote from Ronald Reagan. And it's about freedom. So here's the quote. All right, Dad, I'm going to read it. And I'm going to read it in as many podcasts as I can. Because he feels it's relevant. And if my dad feels it's relevant, then it's something. All right, so here's the quote from Ronald Reagan. Freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We didn't pass it to our children in the bloodstream. It must be fought for, protected, and handed on for them to do the same. Or one day, we will spend our sunset years telling our children and our children's children what it was once like in the United States where men were free. So my dad wants me to put that on there. And I just want to let my dad know. I feel like this is our contribution. This is the best way I know how to do it. So hopefully we get things turned around and I can tell my kids and grandkids that
We did it.
we did something.
Yeah, we did it.
So thank you, Dad. That's a great quote from Ronald Reagan, a great president. But again, great leaders are great to have, but great laws stay with us forever.
Anything else you want to know?
No, just say thanks to Dad again.
Thank you, sir. We know families are stressed out today, and most of the people living paycheck to paycheck, thanks to this Build Back Better bullshit. Most shovel-ready jobs, nothing. Gas prices.
No green energy jobs.
Thing is, we can't give up. We cannot give up now. Politicians know if they divide us, we'll give in to their demands. Don't fall into their trap. We know when you're ready to give up. Afraid if you stand up and say no, they will come at us. Just remember, you can say no. When we all stand together, there's no need to be afraid. We all support each other. Stand with us and say, we have had enough. We will not be pushed into a corner by this federal government and our congressional hacks anymore. Article 5 is only one way to get more power to each individual state. Starting a party, it's going to be rough, but that's the other way. The two we have, these two parties don't work together and only want us to hate each other. We have to stop the hate. We have to. The Independent Constitution Party is our way to unite all people. We can and we will achieve success. Please join us and believe that change can happen. Believe me, Jack and I will achieve success. Check out our website, it's right behind us. Watch the show. Please like, share with your family and friends, and please subscribe. Have an amazing day, and please educate yourself in Article 5, because as we always say, knowledge is power. See you next time at the Tavern.
Great job.